Hi everyone, it's Chenzo from Reality Art Pod. I'm here with a cast assessment for The Traitors USA Season 2. I was really on the fence of whether or not I wanted to do any Traitors content, but this cast is pretty stacked with a lot of people that I recognize. So I thought, what the hell, why not? So we have 21, mostly celebrities. I'm going to go through them and tell you if I knew them prior to this. I also did a fair amount of research to people that I did and didn't know. I'll give you my impression on them as it pertains to the game and whether I feel like they'll be a good traitor or faithful or neither or both. If you end up liking the video, consider subscribing because I'm going to be posting weekly recaps of the show. So let's dive into it. Firstly, we have Carson Bergerson from Love Island USA, and we first met Bergie being an underdog on Love Island. I highly underestimated Bergie, and he became my first ever public apology on my podcast back when I covered the season of Love Island. So he came into that pretty much fish out of water, and he eventually found love with Taylor, and they're seemingly still going strong. He'll probably be extremely underestimated here as well, and I think he'd probably come off really sketchy to others based on his overall nervousness, and I doubt any of them will have seen Love Island USA to have an idea of his personality. I would rather see him as a rootable faithful. As a traitor, I think they would suss him out, and I think he'd have a hard time lying, but maybe I'm underestimating him again. Next, we have Chris CT Tamburello from The Challenge, and CT is one of the most beloved challengers of all time, mostly because of his actual physical challenge ability, most notably carrying Johnny Bananas on his back like a backpack. While the challenges on the Traitors really don't matter at all, he's actually a genius with puzzles, which leads me to believe that he'd be a really great faithful and traitor hunter. It would also be interesting to see him in a traitor role since he's not really known for his social game. He kind of just has a presence that intimidates his competition, and in this setting, he may not be as intimidating. We end up getting the long-awaited return of Dan Giesling from Big Brother. Dan is probably the most masterful strategist on this season, orchestrating some of Big Brother's biggest strategic plays, like Dan's funeral, that's widely esteemed as one of the best Big Brother moves of all time, which usually works to his advantage when he's playing against losers and simps, but this cast is not really full of too many losers and simps. In this group, he's largely a known quantity, especially with other Big Brother players being there. I kind of see his trajectory going the way of Kevin Martin on Traitors Canada, where whether or not he's a traitor, I think he's too much of a threat for them to let him get to the end, especially with Janelle being there. I don't know if Janelle and Dan are friends now, but Janelle has played with him before, she's lost to him before. I just think she's coming for that ass. Next, we have Deontay Wilder, a boxer. So I always get skeptical when I see an athlete on shows like this because most of these people are career reality TV people who do these shows for exposure, or they're looking for that win and that money. So I wonder what athletes have to gain from this. One of the biggest things that came up in my research is that his daughter has spina bifida. So while I don't feel like he needs the money personally, I think that he'll be wanting to promote his cause. And through that, I feel like he'd be a really rootable faithful. Next up, someone I'm excited to see return is Ekin-su from Love Island UK. We first met Ekin-su being one of the most captivating modern reality TV villainesses, liars, actresses on Love Island UK, where ultimately she and Davide fought their way through a summer with them coming up on top, mostly because their drama was extremely entertaining. I've been looking forward to return to TV in a social strategy show. I really want Ekin-su and Davide to be one housemate on Celebrity Big Brother UK. Sad that Davide is not here with her, but she was sneaky, manipulative, and likable, and I personally would love to see her as a traitor, though I ultimately don't think that she is likely to survive to the end of the game. Next, I have Janelle from Big Brother 6, 7, 14, and 22, another Big Brother legend. Janelle in early Big Brother was once seen as a big threat, though being a very well-connected person with other reality stars, and not being known as an outwardly deceptive or really great strategic player, I feel like she could skate by in the game for a while. She has a relationship with Dan from playing with him in Big Brother before, and I think that she could beat him here. She appeared with 3 Traitors Season 1 alums, Stephanie, Rachel, and Suri, on Snake in the Grass, where she and the others sussed Stephanie out as the snake, so Janelle could be the next great traitor hunter, but I think it would be fun to see her as a traitor or a faithful. Thinking about how last season gave Suri that big win that she's been chasing for years, I feel like Janelle is the closest that we can get to that happening again. Next, I have Johnny Bananas from The Challenge and recently House of Villains, another challenge legend who usually is the villain compared to his counterpart here, CT. Bananas is the winningest challenge competitor of all time, and his reputation is going to follow him into the house. He seems to be wanting to create a more Mr. Nice Guy persona lately, while with him making some terrible game moves on House of Villains in the pursuit of doing the right thing. He struggled with being a villain on House of Villains, so will he struggle with being a traitor here? And if he is a faithful, I don't think anyone's going to believe him. Onto the biggest what the hell casting decision on this cast, John Bercow from UK Parliament. This is the most random person on the list because why? I don't think anyone cares or wants to see him. From my research, maybe he's a humorous character. If you search his name on YouTube, it's just a bunch of clips of him being unhinged, silly, and lighthearted in the parliament. So I guess the point is him trying to create a career as a person who does shows like this. He probably didn't go on the UK version because this one has all celebrities, but it's kind of an odd fit. He's most likely to be a really suspicious faithful who drives everyone nuts. Next, we have Kevin from Bling Empire. I've watched Bling Empire, and Kevin's one of my favorite personalities on there, mostly because he's a really nice guy, but he isn't afraid to be real and get involved in some messiness. It's nice to see that these shows are casting from Bling Empire because I don't really think that many people watch it. I think he'd be a perfect faithful, but would be a terrible traitor because I don't think he's capable of lying or manipulating, and for that reason, I think he's highly likely to get murdered. Next, I have Larsa Pippen from Real Housewives of Miami, and Larsa's probably one of the biggest reality TV villains right now, and not for the reasons that we like. I kind of dislike her, and she's towards the bottom of my list of housewives. Normally, I think that she's pretty boring and doesn't bring that much to Miami Housewives, but with the recent display of no humanity or empathy with Gertie, when Gertie told her that she had breast cancer and she acted like Gertie was lying and told the whole group when Gertie said, "Don't tell anyone." So she's not trustworthy, and I think that she's most likely on this list to be voted out by the faithfuls, even if she is a faithful, which leads me to Marcus Jordan, basketball player and son of Michael Jordan. Here's the good about Marcus is that he's the son of America's sweetheart and my icon, Michael Jordan, who in my eyes is a great person. The negative is that he's romantically entwined with Larsa, who's a not so great person in my eyes, and she's going to tank him no matter what happens, and their relationship makes them both an easy target by the entire group, and once you're a target, it's near impossible to shake it on this show. For that metric, I wouldn't be surprised if these two were early boots. Next is Maxim Shmerkovsky from Dancing with the Stars, two-time Dancing with the Stars champion, coming on here to, I don't know why, I guess promote that he's going to be a judge on So You Think You Can Dance, so I guess this is part of PR for that since he hasn't done anything recently that makes me feel like this is a good idea for him. To me, he's most likely to do nothing for the sake of making himself look good, especially since there's a history of judges on So You Think You Can Dance getting cancelled, so I fully expect him to be extremely PR trained and to be a big loser on this. Next, I have Mercedes MJ Javid from Shahs of Sunset, and I've never watched Shahs of Sunset, but Reza was a really big personality, and from what I could tell, it seems like MJ also seems to have a big personality, but from what I've seen in my research, I think she'd do better than Reza on this show, but I don't know how far that really goes. Also, she seems like a big shit stirrer, so I can see her being a faithful that gives the group way too many reasons to vote for her. Next, we have multiple-time Survivor player and one-time Survivor winner Parvati. Parvati's an absolute queen. I'm so excited to have her back on TV for the first time since she was on Winners at War, and it was terrible timing for her on that season because she was a new mom. I think she only did it because it was a big season with a big check, but she was more focused on thinking of home. Now she's likely in a place where she could be more present in the game, and this is something where it's a short show. We have never really seen Parvati in an environment like this, and I kind of hope that she's a traitor so we can see villain Parvati back in action, but I ultimately think her reputation as a winner may get the best of her in this group, but I hope not. Next, we have Peppermint from RuPaul's Drag Race, and I really wish we would get more Drag Race contestants on other shows because it's truly always a delight and entertainment without fail, and Peppermint is someone who fans have been begging to return to Drag Race. It's nice to see her branching out, and Peppermint is truly just a really nice, great person. I really think that she'll be in the finale of this show, either as a faithful who nobody is ever going to murder or vote out, or as a traitor who's never suspected. I think she's likely to be recruited as a traitor about midway, and then hopefully we get to see a more villainous side to her. Next, we have a former bachelor in Peter Weber. Peter is one of my favorite bachelors of all time because he's not an a-hole. He's seemingly just a great guy. I feel like he can totally fade into the background and never be suspected, but for that reason, I think he's highly likely to be murdered. Winding down this list, we get some really fun ones in a row, starting with Phaedra Parks from Real Housewives of Atlanta. And I'm of two minds about Phaedra. Firstly, she's entertaining and funny to me. She brings drama, but also took it way too far, resulting in being fired from Bravo. But I keep saying who I feel like will be good or not good at this, and truly on this show, the rubric is if you can avoid giving people a reason to vote for you, you should be fine, and I don't really trust Phaedra to not piss everyone off and just vote her out. Next up, we have Sandra from Survivor, and I love Sandra as a two-time Survivor winner and the self-proclaimed queen. She deserved the respect that she commands, but for her last two Survivor runs, I think it's become a trend that Sandra will just show up to collect her appearance fee, and then when she sees that she's not winning the money, she just wants to be voted out so she can take her appearance fee home. I don't think that the Traitors is Sandra's game because you have to play a really clean game and behave well, and Sandra just doesn't play like that. She's messy, confrontational, and oftentimes really just naturally really sketchy, and she's going to be seen as a threat, so I can see her being an early boot here, unfortunately. Another Real Housewife of Atlanta, Sheree Whitfield, and I love Sheree. I can't believe that she's doing this show, so I want to take a moment to talk about Sheree on the last season of Housewives because I thought it was so funny that she invited the girls on her healing trip for her fibroids and then proceeded to organize a terrible trip to Portugal that was full of stress, aggravation, and drama. If her party planning has any indication of how she'll perform here, I'm not very confident. Here's hoping that while we have her, we get a meme out of it. Who gonna murder me, boo? Next is Tamra Judge from Real Housewives of Orange County, and I know this is a few of the same thing in a row, but alphabetical order kind of did me dirty. When it comes to messy players, Tamra could be the messiest of them all. The last season of The Housewives, Tamra became obsessed with Jennifer's marriage, which really had nothing to do with Tamra, escalating to the point that Tamra threw a cloth dinner napkin in Jennifer's face, and that's nearly after 20 years of being on reality TV, so Tamra's not going to be behaved on this show. She's most likely to get obsessed with a faithful being a traitor. Then, after leading the entire group in the wrong direction, I can see them thinking that she's a traitor. Lastly, I have Trishelle Cannatella from Real World and The Challenge, and as someone who's watched The Challenge for like 20 years, I've seen Trishelle go through what I wouldn't even call highs and lows. I'd say mids and lows and really low lows, with her lowest low being her fight with Anissa that led to her being put on what I guess Dorinda Medley would call pause from MTV. She came back to The Challenge All-Stars and was kind of timid and afraid to do anything and walking on eggshells, which I think could probably benefit her on a show like Traitors, where you always need to be walking on eggshells. So I feel like she could end up being a pretty successful, quiet little faithful who slips by the whole way, though I don't think she'd be a really good traitor hunter, but I think she could be a finalist and maybe win by accident. So there you have it, a little bit about all 21 of these castmates. If I had to pick my 3 traitors, putting my producer hat on, I'd probably pick Ekin-su, Phaedra, and CT, mostly because I think it'd be funny to see Ekin-su and Phaedra sneaking around and CT having to deal with them. That's all I have for you today. Don't forget to subscribe if you like this video because I'm coming to you next weekend. We're having 3 episodes released on Friday, so I think I'm just gonna watch them and then make videos as I watch them. I think I'll make 3 separate videos and make a playlist. Let me know in the comments what you thought of my opinions, and if you had to pick 3 traitors, who would you pick? Until next time, have a nice weekend. Bye!